cut off the monster's arms or legs. If it is Frankenstein, new arms or legs will grow.
So we've seen Frankenstein as done by the English and Americans, but why don't we see how another culture handles him? Specifically, Japan. I mean, what can they bring to Frankenstein? Yeah, that's right, this time he's a kaiju! I feel like this movie was made specifically for me. Frankenstein Baragon, or Frankenstein Conquers the World, came out in 1965. It was directed by the legendary Ishiro Honda, and it starred Tadao Takashima, Kumi Mitsuono, Nick Adams, who might be an American, I'm not sure, it's very subtle, and Koji Furuhata as Frankenstein, as well as featuring the original Godzilla himself, Haruo Nakajima, as Baragon. It is significantly the first of several co-productions between Toho Studios and the American Henry G. Saperstein Productions and Benedict Productions, and also as being the movie where Frankenstein chokes out a goddamn dinosaur! The story is that during the Second World War, Frankenstein's heart is taken to Japan to be studied, when, all of a sudden... well, that's... distressing. 15 years later, the heart has grown into a boy, who gets taken in by a group of scientists, and then proceeds to grow. He gets bigger and bigger until he is huge. Then, when a group of reporters shine lights in his eyes, he gets enraged, breaks free and goes on the run. From there, the scientists are trying to track him down before the military can wipe him out. Things get complicated further when another giant monster, Baragon, rises from beneath the earth. This is a super fun movie. It's pretty quick and to the point, the plot is simple and compelling, and the monster effects are as good as you'd expect from a 60s Toho film, i.e. somehow amazing and terrible all at the same time in a way that is incredibly endearing. There's a lot of great uses of perspective to give a sense of the size of Frankenstein, as well as some rear projection and the ever popular model shots. Oh no! That toy police car is going to fall off the playset! These go a long way to really putting you in the right mindset for this kind of film. You don't need to think about it too hard to have a good time. You can just sit back and let the fun wash over you. As for the Frankenstein stuff, well, it's a little bit in name only. But that's okay. There's no Dr. Frankenstein in this one. One assumes that he died all that time ago, but the creature's heart lived on. As for the creature, he's good. Furuhata really imbues him with a lot of childlike innocence that is pretty charming. We don't get to see a lot of the darker stuff he does on screen. Like, we know he's been killing animals for food. We do see this torn up rabbit early on, but we don't actually see him killing anyone on screen. This helps us to feel more sorry for him when the bad things start to happen. He is ultimately portrayed as a good soul here. At the end of the film, we see him rescue Dr. Kawaji from the rock slide caused by his fight. This is a guy who was okay with the idea of killing him, since he only needed the heart for his research. And sure, Frankenstein didn't know that, but it does make his saving him feel like a more poignant moment of selflessness that you rarely see in Frankenstein stories. The makeup is unique. It clearly emulates the Karloff flathead, but looks distinct enough to be its own thing. Plus, his being free of the usual bulky rubber kaiju suits gives him a lot more leeway to be interesting in the fight against Baragon at the end. He's quick on his feet, can run and jump around, and he can get in some good moves on him, unlike poor Haruo Nakajima as Baragon, who just has to take a beating in this one. I don't really have much of a cohesive theme to talk about with this one, beyond I think kaiju movies are good, but I will briefly touch on one thing. At the opening of this film, we see a Japan that is an ally to the Nazis, getting hit by the atomic bomb in Hiroshima. Then, the American character Dr. Bowen talks about how he came to work in Japan to, in some ways, make amends. There isn't a lot of time devoted to the discussion of this idea, but it's nice to know it's there. Even in the most frivolous of things, and frivolous this film surely is, there's some room for political evaluation. Seeing Japan acknowledge that yes, they were allied with the Nazis, and yes, that was a terrible thing, and seeing an American address his own people's part in such a huge atrocity is good to see, even if it does get quickly forgotten because Frankenstein dropped this toy tank into a hole. So all in all, it's a fun romp, and that's all it needs to be. Next time, we'll be heading to the smaller screen for something decidedly weirder. Thank you so much for watching part 4 of Frankenstein Month. Be sure to let me know what you thought of it in a comment below, and click on one of these things up here. This movie is kind of like if you smashed together my two favourite things in the world. I love it.